Thank you, good evening. This first poem that I'm going to do, I wrote, well, it's from my archive really, it's from some time ago. And it's actually written at a time when mental health in the community wasn't even heard of, that anybody who had any form of mental health was actually stuck away in a mental hospital, probably never to get out again. It's called Gerald. Young Gerald sits amongst the stars, his life trapped by his mind. He thinks of nothing, now and then, but the family left behind. His company is a varied crew, all defects in their way. Some have a hope, but most have none. They wander, cry, or pray. He cannot work too hard too long, for thoughts drift by his eye, transport his body lazily to open sea and sky. He'll walk along the shore a while, or mole shapes in the sand, until once more he's gathered up by institution's hand. The pills do keep him settled. They kill the past so well, allow him to remain under nature's cruelest spell. And if in half a century you go by Gerald's way, you'll find him just as he is now, with hair turned steely grey. Thank you. This next one is a bit of sort of landscape poetry, written after a visit to the North Norfolk coast, and it's called Wells. Red brick and pan tiles, converted curing houses, and flinted herringmen's cottages spill toward the quayside where rock shops and arcades, cheap cafes faded and rusted by onshore salty mists, lodge uncomfortably with nature. The levee, arrows straight, points a hand to a globe of sky. The distant outcrops of pine and dune just a thin, ragged lower edge. Yachts, cast up high at low tide, balance on twin keels, sheets chattering, pennants clapping against the raucous outcries of black-headed gulls squabbling, bathing, standing one-legged on quilted mud. Past walkers, pram-pushing parents, rucksack twitchers who have already met the challenge of the long trek to the beach. Reach the point where humankind becomes irrelevant, where the force and beauty of nature overpowers the senses. Pine-laden banks are a last defence. A thin grey band on a curved horizon marks the joining of sea and sky. Distant dune islands break the line in a huge expanse of rippled, desolate sand, cut only by low-tide channels, where people are thin smudges at the edge of vision. This soundless place brings peace of mind, instills a sense of well-being, brings lovers closer together, banishes pace, landscapes out reality for fleeting, beautiful moments. This next one is a fairly recent poem, and I've written it sort of angry. I've worked for an organisation for a long, long time, just over 30 years in the same organisation. And in the past 2 years, we've seen it virtually destroyed by the government. It's called probation decimation. Cameron wondered if we were required and had to accept we were. Without us, cost would rocket, he was told, with all the crims in stir. But then his sidekick henchman, Grayling is his name, was brought over from DWP to start the breakdown game. Let's privatise the buggers. Well, at least the less risky bit. We'll keep hold of the murderers, paedophiles and psychos that could drop us in the shit. So the process started, the destruction plan agreed. Trades unions so helpless now to stop the creeping weed. And we, small cogs in a large machine, just kept in the dark, whilst behind closed doors senior management had ensured their places on the ark. The Whitehall half-wits had to cope with Grayling's breakneck pace, maniacally tight deadlines to stop him losing face. First mergers of neighbouring areas to set up selling blocks, fatten up the livestock, shepherd in the flocks. Then divide the flock in two, retain one half, civil service crew, to supervise the nasties in our midst, fresh from prison, devil's grist. Call the other a CRC, wrap it up so pleasantly that corporate vultures' bulging eyes only see the bloated body, not the nasty biting flies. So comes the day the successful bidder, thick contract under arm, moves into our small enterprise to slice and dice and harm. Whoops, things aren't right. We weren't told that, they claim. You've got more staff and crap IT, but Grayling's not to blame. It's those prats in the MOJ who haven't got it right. They haven't updated the data room, but do they give a shite? No, the card's been sold, no turning back. Caveat emptor's the phrase. Just cast the CRCs adrift below the media's gaze. Well, I haven't finished. We knew that news would not be good, that staff would have to go, but none of us were quite prepared to hear the hammer blow. We're overstaffed by almost half, so excise the mess. Forget their kids and families, for this is business. Despite the learned sound advice, this could cause the public harm. No one wants to listen, as Grayling sold the farm. If you read of a heinous crime, you may now be more aware that this government doesn't give a damn. It's not empowered to care. Thank you. Probation were warned that we won't put any information or any comment on social media because Grayling and MOJ would have us disciplined if that was the case, so sod it, I don't care. This last one I hope is a slightly lighter tone. It's called pound stretching. The lighting is bright, the shelves are packed with every kind of discounted tat. Price cutters, pound stretchers, the names matter not, it's all cheap seconds putting Sam into flot. What drives the poor bargain seekers with baskets of ware? Are they buying from need or just because it's there? Do they need the sticky soap tray or the lacquered spice rack? The Chinese-made felt tips, quid for 50 per pack. The Chrissy cards for next year, the past sell-by-date sweets, repackaged for kids as a slightly off treat. Perhaps finding a bargain fills a yearning to spend, a comfort for moments, a means to an end. Perhaps it's social, while scanning the wares, a chance to converse with no one who cares. The atmosphere's tacky, it's hard to bear. If that is the case, what am I